Hello everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Droopy, a long-time Dead by Daylight player, Prestige 100 Xenomorph main, and soon-to-be Springtrap main upon release. Okay, I know this is different to my normal videos, but something really big has happened to fix a bunch of bugged killers who... Okay, sorry, I guess it's not a bug, who would have their objects spawned poorly due to chests taking priority. For those of you who don't know what this means, I'll give you a brief demonstration. When a map generates before a game, it focuses on placing a few things as a priority, such as generators and tiles to be able to make sure every trip to a map is as different as possible, making the game less about muscle memory and more about adapting on the fly. For some reason though, chests are also taken into priority, meaning that they are spawned before most other things in the map. This causes certain killers to become screwed over by map generation, namely killers who generate props around the map such as Xenomorph or Sadako, whose props use the same spawn locations as chests to be placed just about anywhere if even a green chest offering is in play. This isn't helped by the fact that anniversary offerings the last few years, and even other event offerings, have added chests to the map, and said extra chests still generate before killer props. Now if we use this screenshot here as an example, I've put a few chest offerings on the survivors just to kind of replicate what it'd be like in an event scenario. But you can see that this tunnel right here is the one for main building. How the fuck am I going to be able to use this tunnel the entire game when it is edge map? You can also see over here that there is another tunnel that is like half the map away from the generator, meaning I'm going to get absolutely zero pressure from this tunnel. This isn't the only example on just the swamp maps alone either. For example, this image here is showcasing my POV from the main building's tunnel towards the main building gen. That is at least a 15 to 20 second walk from that tunnel to be able to reach the generator. And do you want to know what the main culprit is? The fact that this chest spawns before the tunnels. If this chest didn't get prioritized over tunnels, that tunnel would be inside main building and would be able to allow me to actually get value as a killer from my ability. But as the placement of this tunnel is just completely out of the way, it means that just purely because a chest exists, this entire generator is basically undefendable. This completely ruins map pressure for Xenomorph, and makes Sadako basically useless, as she doesn't have a power outside her invisibility demanifest mind games, and more recently will affect Springtrap because he relies on his doors being in useful spots, which on maps like the swamp, we can clearly see are not going to be useful whatsoever. Also, we've got this screenshot taken by another player, which was during one of the anniversary events, which showed 3 of the fucking tunnels within 2 meters of each other, which just should not be a scenario. I remember also back during the last Christmas event, they had the snow piles becoming a much more prominent prop. I don't have footage of this, but on the new Ormond Salt Lake map at the time, it was the new map, I had 4 of my 7 tunnels spawn in the center of the map, purely because survivors brought the mistletoe offering, which spawned another chest. Like, it's just outrageous that this has been in the game for this long. And it hinders the killers that are affected by it so much. Like, these are like even some somewhat tame examples. Sometimes I literally just lose games because I've got bad tunnel placement and I can't pressure like half the generators. However, this has finally been acted on. After years. YouTuber JCglitchmasters made this more mainstream knowledge, and a post was eventually made on the forums about this issue which elaborates on it much more than I can here. However, the devs have responded, and it is finally gonna be fixed in the Five Nights at Freddy's full release. Now, I've played Xenomorph for almost 2 years one-tricking them, and I'm not gonna lie, it's been shit dealing with these spawns that can sometimes just lose you the game immediately, and that's just not how a killer should be designed. So I'm very relieved that this is going to fix an issue that I've had with my main killer since launch. Now I can't speak much on Sadako, but I know JCglitchmasters will probably finish this video before I do, so that's your expert on Sadako if you'd like to have an idea of what their perspective is. But this year has honestly been a great showing of behavior listening to the community. What with the abandoned feature and changes to it being largely positive outside of a few bad eggs. haste stacking staying in the game, and the entire smorgasbord of amazing changes in this FNAF release. It's really nice to see Behaviour interacting with the community this much to ensure that their game is the best it can be. Is this being acted on now largely because Springtrap is affected by it and is going to be their most profitable killer ever? Maybe yes, but it's still really nice to see Behaviour making sure that the game is the best it can be, especially considering the influx of new players we'll have upon FNAF's release. What does this mean for the future of killer design though? Well, obviously it means prop-based killers are going to be useful again, and when they release more in the future, they'll have no issues with their generation outside the usual bugs upon release, making killer design philosophy much more unique and much more varied, and it's going to make them creating killers that rely on props so much more exciting, because it means that we now know that they are not going to be screwed over by the map generation. Secondly, it means that Xenomorph and Sadako, to make them playable, I don't have to use cut coins every single game, which was honestly really draining and meant I couldn't run a sacrificial ward as well, so 90% of my Xenomorph games devolved into me being sent to a map and still being fucked by a random chest spawn in main building anyway. Xenomorph requires these tunnels to be next to gens so that it can snowball pressure, catch survivors off guard, and get into chases incredibly fast, and I'm so happy this is becoming base kit. With Springtrap on the horizon in just under a week, I'm really hopeful for this patch. Even outside of this amazing change, we've got the new AFK changes, the Go Next prevention, map offering nerfs, and the survivor spawn rules changes. This is looking to be the best Dead by Daylight update we've had in years, and honestly, I can't wait. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a shorter video than normal, but I just wanted to express my thoughts on these changes to spawn logic, and I'm so excited about what it means for my mains. If you're interested in high-skilled Xenomorph content and Springtrap content upon his release, make sure you like and subscribe. I plan to become one of the best Springtrap players in Dead by Daylight, and will be making almost all of my content around him and the Xenomorph. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next show.